fans? Welcome back to Room 237, back with another review of a first-time random blind watch from Hulu. And this is a film that I've scrolled by a few times and was never really curious about it until recently. I reviewed the newer film Off Season, which was directed by a Mickey Keating. And when I looked to see what else he's done, I saw this was another film that Keating had written and directed. So I was very curious. Along with his earlier film Darling, Psychopaths, and then some older ones like Pod and Ritual. This is his 2016 film, and after I saw he directed it, I was sold on that because I really liked Off Season. And yeah, this is his film Carnage Park. Now, the only thing I knew about this, other than the fact that he wrote and directed it, was that it was compared to Tarantino. It was a very Tarantino-esque type film. Certainly not in quality. It's not great Oscar caliber like Tarantino is, but his style. It definitely looks and feels like a Tarantino film. And there's a lot of nods to other filmmakers, and there's Sam Peckinpah, Pete Watkins. There's a little bit of Coen brothers, and the whole thing about this movie, what really makes this work, is that this is one of those 70s Grindhouse throwback films, which we've seen with. I mean, it's very reminiscent of Wolf Creek, which I do like. It does feel kind of like other films from the 70s, like Hills Have Eyes, Chainsaw Massacre, certainly. In fact, I think it takes place in Texas. I could be wrong. I'm not quite sure if it says. It looks like the deserts of Texas. It has a plot similar to Wolf Creek. Someone out in the desert. They end up in someone else's kind of backyard, and then they're hunted. It's like a very Southern America, like Wolf Creek in the American South is what this movie feels like. Done very much in the style of Tarantino. But it has the fun, over-the-top gore of Tarantino and Sam Peckinpah. The kind of non-linear storytelling that Tarantino does, a very Tarantino-esque soundtrack. You got these very well-fitting but random songs, like these ones being all very old country or traditional folk songs. Excellent characters that seem like very fleshed out Tarantino characters. And it's very fast-paced. And it's so fast-paced that it got to a point around halfway through that I thought it was over. It has so many false endings that I was like, wow, I can't believe it's been 80 minutes already, because that's how long it is. And I was just like, wow, that was fast-paced. But there was like a whole other half of the movie. So yeah, written and directed by Mickey Keating. This is very much his 70s Grindhouse homage, done like Tarantino. Stars Ashley Bell, who people will remember as the possessed girl from Last Exorcism. She does great in this. Pat Healy from The Innkeepers. He was in We Need to Do Something. He was the alcoholic dad. Alan Ruck, Cameron from Ferris Bueller. He's in this. Darby Stanchfield. Who the hell was she? I guess she was that other woman, Ellen San Diego. I don't even know who that was. But also Larry Fessenden, who's been in all kinds of stuff. He wrote the video game Until Dawn. He wrote and directed the modern Frankenstein tale Depraved, which is on Hulu. Also, James Landry Hebert as Scorpion Joe, which that just sounds like a Tarantino character. And So yeah, came out in 2016, and it even opens up like a Reservoir Dogs. I mean, I was like, okay, it's gonna be like a 70s throwback, Tarantino-esque. I hit play, and the first scene is two guys in this old car. One's driving, one's in the back seat that's been shot on their way from a bank robbery. One is even driving, turning around, checking on him, like, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." I was like, "It's Mr. White and Mr. Orange from Reservoir Dogs." This movie even ends with a black screen with yellow letters written and directed by Mickey Keating, totally Tarantino. It even has that flip where the movie goes so far plot wise one way, and then it just totally goes in a different direction, which I guess is more Robert Rodriguez from Dusk Till Dawn, which Tarantino wrote. Which actually the first scene is our killer Pat Healy, who I don't know if it was Vietnam. He's some kind of vet, I guess, that has like this crazy PTSD God complex. He owns this compound of just miles of desert that he calls God's country. And he just gives this monologue about people around and out here. God picks no favorites, and he just snipes this one guy. And then we get led into the two guys in the bank robbery. And also like Reservoir Dogs, even though we get flashbacks to what happened before the bank robbery, we don't actually see it, which I thought was kind of cool. And this is one of those movies where just more and more unfolds as it goes on. Scorpion Joe is the driver, and he's kind of like the Steve Buscemi type, but southern and charming. His friend dies, he pulls over, opens the trunk, lets out Ashley Bell, whose character's Vivian. We didn't know she was in there. And just right off, they start driving, their wheel gets blown out, Scorpion Joe is shot, and Vivian wakes up out in the desert in the car, and just this cat and mouse hunting game begins. And it's deserving of the title Carnage Park because I think K&B did the effects. And while it is bloody and gory and practical and awesome looking, there is a lot of really cool stuff that we see after the fact. We see all the booby traps that have gone off, or all the executions that he's done. There's pits with barbed wire with a body in it. There's people up on a crucifix. People tied to posts that have been killed by firing squad. There's people in bear traps. There's people all over the place. We just see how he's just set up this elaborate just game. And I will say spoilers, but if you really like 70s Grindhouse films or newer films that pay homage to that, this is worth checking out. It's fun, it's fast-paced, very well acted, a lot of atmosphere. There's a lot of great shots of the hills in the desert to really get the sense of isolation, but also the fact that you're being watched. So there's this constant atmospheric dread throughout the entire film. Yeah, I just got done watching. There is something about it though, like it's not really a story movie. Like, there's no character arcs. There's no. It's really just about survival, really. So, because I have heard some people say that, like they feel there's something, gone or missing, or that is lacking something. I think this really is just supposed to be just a love letter to this style of film from that era, and to just have fun with it. It's not trying to be a good story or anything like that. But all our characters are well done and well acted. and all the set pieces are great. There's even this little shed where the inside is totally Chainsaw Massacre, where it's got his trophies, which are ears, tacked up on a board. There's bones making all these different decorations. Crazy editing. I mean, it'll go to black and white, or it'll be black and white but upside down, or as Vivian approaches like a door, it'll go sideways. There are a lot of flashbacks, and there's also some Coen brothers influence, like characters talking directly to the camera, even if they're talking to somebody. And just, this movie's awesome. It's a lot of fun. It's short. It's 80 minutes, but it's over like that. And it's well deserving of the title Carnage Park. So I think you'll have fun with it. So, spoiler starting now. The only real story aspect outside of, this whole cat and mouse game is Cameron from Ferris Bueller. He's our sheriff. He goes to see our Rambo guy named Wyatt, played by Pat Healy, and their brothers. Now, it hints that the sheriff knows that he knows what goes on in God's country. But then again, there is this outer monologue he has where it's kind of like the No Country. He's basically Tommy Lee Jones from No Country for Old Men. I'm an honest man. I'm the man of the law. And he kind of has this conflict. Do I stay loyal to my brother, or do I stay loyal to the law? Because he's looking into the bank robbery. He's looking into the woman that was taken. So he goes to ask Wyatt, but we see that there's some sort of agreement, like, you don't ever come out here, you don't ever bother me. But then he drives off, and he gets the idea, like, he knows something. And then he finds the body of the guy from the back seat in the beginning. Scorpion Joe made Vivian help him dump the body. He finds him, knows that he was one of the bank robbers, and he knows that possibly the other robber and the girl are in the compound. So now, basically you have Vivian walking around trying to survive, you have Wyatt hunting her, and you have the sheriff looking for both of them. That's really the only kind of plot that... It's not even something that drives it forward. It's just something we cut back to. Also, there's this recurring image of just black screen with a black and white guy in a gas mask, and it does that fast, glitchy kind of editing, like zzz, 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 where it just keeps appearing in different places, which I thought was cool. Also, I knew this was going to be great, where as soon as the titles come up, it's these big, bright red letters, Carnage Park, with all the copyright stuff down at the bottom. Just like a 70s title card, which I'm a huge sucker for. Also, there's this constant sound, because I guess the first level, I guess, of this game is when she gets out of the car. I mean, she's handcuffed to Scorpion Joe. She has to smash his hand with a rock and break the handcuffs off. His face is already blown off, and the effects are great. She comes up to this big, like, billboard, and there's an old record player with a record that's warped from the sun. So when she plays it, it's like this. Then it just goes into this air raid sound. Then she hears another air raid in the distance. And then all these sniper shots around her. That warped voice and the air raid siren are sounds that recur throughout the film. So even at the end, when she's being chased through the mine shaft by the guy in the gas mask, I was like, this is a lot like House of a Thousand Corpses, like the ending. It even has that tape like "Bury me in the nameless grave," and the guy with the mask chasing her through the underground tunnel. Much, much, much better movie than House of a Thousand Corpses. In fact, this is a better 70s throwback than any of Rob Zombie's films. Some people might get a little bit of Devil's Rejects from this, maybe just because like the Western feel, but this is definitely, I think this is the kind of movie, maybe not, it's not straight up horror. It has crime thriller elements as well. I think that's the Pete Watkins influence. But I feel like Tarantino, no, he can. I feel like Zombie wishes he could make a movie like this. This is the kind of 70s throwback that I think Zombie wishes he could accomplish. And some people have called this movie like a try hard, or like it's trying too hard to be exploitative or shocking. I didn't get that at all. I get that from Rob Zombie every movie I see of his. And there's a point where she gets the upper hand on this guy, bashes him with the rifle, shoots him. And this is when I thought it was going to end. She walks off, music lets up, cuts to black and silence, and then he just sits up. False ending. But then it goes on for like another half. And some parts are fairly predictable. Like she finds first she finds like this little junkyard with a guy in a bear trap played by Fassenden. She helps him. She says she's gonna go get help. She finds this shack, the one with like the Chainsaw Massacre shack. There's a CB radio, but she hears that guy Travis, the bear trap guy, get killed over it. And then she just hears constant cackling, knowing it's him. When she kind of goes from this like southern out here, God picks no favorites, to just being this cackling psycho by the end of it. And Cameron, the sheriff, he comes up to the house. She has a pair of scissors, and he's gonna go in and she's gonna stab him. That is what happens. But then he chases her down into the mines. I love how the mines are shot. It starts out with just the regular red lights, or regular lights, but then it goes like red. There's a bunch of just collected stuff down there, like a doll that laughs, or more of that warped voice and air raid siren. During a scuffle and shootout, it collapses. and then it's all black, which I like how that shot. It doesn't go night vision, or it doesn't make it so bright that you don't believe that she's blinded by darkness. You get the idea that she is completely fucked in the dark. Because you can just barely make her out. And like there's time she's walking like this. Or there's even a scene where she's sitting still. Where she's just like swinging at the air. And I love how one of those, when she gets out, is shot. It's just this little glimmer of light. And we see her run up to it and start banging on the door. And the rest is completely dark. And then we just pan back until that door is just like a little speck right in the middle of the screen. And then she bursts through. She walks out. She cries and laughs. We get the ending captions that say, Vivian led authorities to the crime scene that would later be known as Carnage Park, where the bodies of over 24 murders occurred. The body of suspected killer Wyatt Moss had never been found, which Moss is also the last name of Josh Brolin's character in No Country for Old Men. Which even the sheriff on the radio calls for Deputy Winston. my first thought was, is that a nod to Cabin Fever, which is kind of a throwback to the 70s, a modern film just trying to make a 70s style movie? Was it? Maybe not, but maybe it's just coincidence. And actually, even before the opening scene, that made me think, oh, this is going to be a movie full of ripoffs. I know it. We get the opening caption that says, "The film in which you are about to see is one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history." Almost verbatim Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because it went from that to pretty much Reservoir Dogs in the car when Mr. Orange is shot. And I was thinking, oh my god, this movie's going to be nothing but just ripoffs and references and copying. There's nods, but it feels more like a respectable nod and influence that works. It works for the film. It doesn't feel like a sad ripoff or copycat. And I actually thought it was kind of cool how all black, yellow letters written and directed by, just like Tarantino. But it is a very effective film done in a Tarantino style, and Tarantino is very influential. But it blends other filmmakers. Tarantino, Watkins, again Coen brothers, Sam Peckinpah. The plot is like Wolf Creek meets. There's a hint of No Country for Old Men. There's a bit of Chainsaw Massacre. There's a little bit of Hills Have Eyes. It's all kinds of just. No Country for Old Men takes place in. Well, actually, I think it takes place in 81, but still around that period. And just also the score. I didn't talk about the score. When it's not these old folk country songs, it is this very effective, adrenaline pumping, sort of like screeching. It's like pounding beats and screeching sounds, like when she's running and being chased and shot at. Very fun, very just. I have nothing but praise for this movie. Now, is it one of my favorites from the 2010s? No, I would say it's one of the best. But it's a movie kind of like the Belko Experiment. Very well made, very, very fun and entertaining. But I wouldn't consider it one of the best of that decade. I mean, I still look at The Witch, The Lighthouse, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Ritual, stuff like that as being the best made. But this is definitely one of the more entertaining and fun. Also, it's IFC Midnight. Go figure. I love IFC films. I'm not sure what else to say other than, it really does feel like someone that's influenced by Tarantino. It's very, very effective. I love the way it looks. It's shot very well. Anytime it gets a little bit stylish, like with the black and white, or like tilted camera, or upside down, or anything like that, or like it's non-linear flashbacks. It never got confusing. It's always interesting. The only real predictable part would have been when the sheriff goes in the shed that she's in and she kills him by mistake. It did surprise me at the end when it said his body was never found. The camera just like centers right on the opening to the mine. We hear him cackling. It just kind of quickly zooms in, but he doesn't pop out or anything. So it's like, is he still alive? Could he be? Maybe. But yeah, I had so much fun with this movie. It's and definitely with this and off season, I will definitely be checking out Keating's other films. Now, how does this stack next to off season? They're very, very different movies. I don't even know if I could properly compare them. I would say this one probably has more rewatch value than off season, but they're both very good. So yeah, this is my review for Carnage Park. Again, I can't say it enough. Fun, entertaining, fast paced. Everything about it is great. The atmosphere, the kills, even the aftermath. Just seeing how much carnage has happened in this film. The acting, the characters, uh, sound design, set design, score, soundtrack, uh, of, of cinematography, style, editing. This movie has everything going for it. It is very fun. But anyway, I'll probably scroll through Hulu again, see what else is on there, and thank you for watching.